This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Welcome to this podcast, Season 8, Episode 8. My name is Timmy. I am back in Toronto, Ontario, and I am joined by Jonathan Kuline, who's back in Lawrenceville, Bristol, New Brunswick.
Hello there, kids.
And we're also joined by Jaime Lopez Jr. in Seattle, Bristol, New Brunswick, Seattle as well. No, Seattle. Seattle, Washington. Yeah, there we are.
How's it going?
It's going well. Going better than it was last week. But anyway. Alrighty, so we got some fact check here. You guys were talking about The Cage, and Jonathan said that I'm sure it was an accident. You said it was a 2-part episode. It was actually a 1-part pilot that starred Jeffrey Hunter as Christopher Pike, but it was the network didn't like it, so they shelved it, and then they gave them an opportunity to do a second one. So they made a second one. But I think what you were thinking of maybe was that for episode 11 and 12 of the first season of the original series, they repurposed the footage from The Cage and made it into a 2-part episode called The Menagerie. So
that is exactly what I was thinking. So thanks for the clarification.
Yep. Anyway, I just didn't want anybody throwing their phones at the screen or whatever. Oh yeah. This is a fun fact here. I just for fun, I just typed TOS into the search engine on the IMDb app or website, and it returns Star Trek 1966. Because when you search for Star Trek by itself, it gives you all kinds of results. But if you want to just find the original series, just type TOS in the IMDb search engine, which I thought was cool. You guys were talking about Decker, the name Decker. Jaime did mention correctly that Matt Decker was captain of the USS Constitution in the Doomsday Machine, which, by the way, is the first episode I ever saw as a kid. But I thought it was interesting that it was played by that guy in the 60s, 70s, and even 2000s, a guy named William Wyndham, who you may or may not recognize as the president in Escape from the Planet of the Apes. But he was also in To Kill a Mockingbird as one of the lawyers. And then there's this weird connection between To Kill a Mockingbird in that Dill, the kid, the kid who is the Spike's brother, was the kid who says "bunk bunk" on the head from the Miri episode, played by John Manga. And that's season 1, episode 8. And then Sheriff Tate is Frank Overton, and he was in season 1, episode 24, This Side of Paradise. That's the one where the flowers shoots Spock in the face, but the guy who was the leader of that cult, or the leader of that mission that they were trying to find, that was played by Frank Overton. And of course, Gregory Peck, the lawyer, is the grandfather of Ethan Peck. So there's this weird sort of connection between To Kill a Mockingbird and Star Trek. I just thought it was cool. Yeah. So I guess a lot of that guy's in that movie, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, It was a pretty big movie at the time and continues to have a long tail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, then there's all kinds of people in it that show up in other things too.
Well, Brock Peters, right? Brock Peters was in Star Trek 6 as well as he was Tom Robinson, right?
Right. Oh yeah, right. Hey, he played the captain or something like that, or admiral.
Admiral, yeah.
Good call. I missed that one. All right, over to you for the headlines.
Yeah, busy couple weeks since our last episode. We'll start things off with the passing of an icon. Robert Redford, noted actor and director, passed away this week at the age of 89. Humongous run, one of the most important actors of the 20th and a little bit into the 21st century. He was, obviously in some humongous movies that, everybody probably has at least a passing knowledge of, or, knows things like All the President's Men or Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. But also, for our
the
world,
Condor,
3 Days of the
Sting.
Condor, The Sting. But even into the 21st century, he was in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, arguably the best Marvel movie ever made, and he was also in Endgame, which is also on the list of best Marvel movies ever made. So, he had a humongous tale. He was also a noted director. He won his only Oscar for being a director. But yeah, this guy was he was like I remember him as a kid just being like, oh, that guy's like one of the most super famous people in the world. Like him and Paul Newman were like the two biggest movie stars of that era for me. And and obviously a ridiculously handsome man in his day, and even into his older age. He did what was that, Indecent Proposal in the late 90s, early 2000s, and this was like the guy. He was Hollywood's
He also founded the Sundance Film Festival too, right? Don't
Absolutely. Yeah, and he did that because he, in spite of being this, massively famous person, he was also a very private person. He basically bought a huge piece of land in Utah and fell in love with it there. And then he decided to, start a film festival there, which is still going to this day. And I don't know. Do you guys have strong memories of Robert Redford? I mean, Tim, obviously you're the elder statesman here. You must have crossed paths with his work a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he was the sort of the guy. Any movie that he was in was golden kind of thing. Like people like Harrison Ford or Tom Cruise or those kind of people that are pretty popular. Like they're eclipsed by him in the 70s and 80s for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a romantic lead. To be honest with you, when he was in Winter Soldier and playing that sort of, I don't know, I got the impression he was supposed to be like a bad guy almost, right?
Well, he was in the end, right?
Yeah, I mean, but that really threw me for a loop because he was always the good guy, right? He was always the kid to Paul Newman, which was funny because when you think about them, I was young and they were both old men at the time, right?
Yeah.
But he was sort of the up and coming kid. I mean, The Sting is one of my favorite movies of all time. That's a movie like. I remember we saw it in the theater, and then anytime it's been on TV or anytime I see it, I just will start watching it. And then Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid's another classic one. Mm-hmm. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago because it had Ted Cassidy in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, and there's tons of movies. Day of the Condor, where he's a CIA agent, which is a really good one, and so a lot of what we see in movies, these days were sort of roles that he played, and of course. All the President's Men. I just watched a clip yesterday, I think, on the Facebook or whatever, of a classic scene of him doing a 5-minute solo performance in the newsroom, calling, on the phone, using a dial phone. If you want to see how hard it was to dial a phone number and back in the day, but like to see him do 5 minutes on like straight, like without anybody else on the screen with him, it was amazing. So really good. I mean, he was one of the best actors out there, like from as I was growing up anyway.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what's your relationship to Robert Redford? Yeah.
Kind of more indirect. I feel like the biggest thing that's in my memory is how in a particular era, he was like the dreamboat guy, kind of person. That changes from era to era. Like Brad Pitt had his era and then there's others, but it was like, oh yeah, Robert Redford was like the dreamboat guy. And it was like, in all the magazines and the TV shows, and that was kind of more my recollection rather than any particular movie or role. But like
unlike characters today, very private, like you mentioned, Jonathan. Like you wouldn't see him on the Carson show and stuff like that, right?
No, he really kind of, when he was not doing movies, he was one of the first. It's not uncommon to hear about actors now who have quieter lives away from the spotlight and whatever, but he kind of was the first one who kind of was not interested in that part of the world. He really just wanted the work, which is again something, I mean, this was one of the most handsome, charming, talented people in the world in his era, and some people would be like, oh, I want to go to all the parties, I want to do all the things. And he was like, nope, I want to be on a ranch in Utah. I don't want any of this. I just want to do my work and let the work speak for itself, which, it's admirable that he was just so understanding what he needed from his work and then from his life separately, which, I mean, I must admit, I've now made that kind of decision for myself. But yeah, it's just weird. It's weird to think of a world where, I mean, obviously Paul Newman's been gone for a while now, but he always just felt like he was always there, and he was working. I mean, he had, a movie that came out in theaters not that long ago of the one where he's alone on a boat, and it was about, man versus nature. And, it's just really weird. It's really weird to think of him not being around anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's jump over to something a little more positive, although we will say, big life, big career. Good job, Robert. The Emmy Awards were this weekend, and we always go in with an open mind as, science fiction, fantasy, genre, television fans. You always feel like you can get your hopes up and they're probably not going to meet your expectations. No matter how much we love Andor, it probably was never going to be, the best drama, in spite of the fact that I think, for myself at least, I think it was the best drama I've seen in years. But that being said, we did get some nice wins for things we love. Andor did win a bunch of Emmy Awards. It won more of the ones at the pre-awards ceremony for the technical side. But on the day of, it did also win Best Writing for a Drama for Welcome to the Rebellion. That's the episode where Mon Mothma goes and gives her big speech at the Senate, and then Andor has to get her off of Coruscant. One of the best episodes of television I think I've ever seen. Actually went to Tony Gilroy's brother, who was the credited writer for that episode, which is hilarious because Tony didn't win anything, but his brother did. It was up for best drama. It was up for best directing. It was up for, a bunch of awards. That's the biggest one it won. It did win a bunch of the creative side ones for outstanding production design, picture editing. It won for costumes, and it won for best special visual effects and stuff. So it won some of the more ones you might expect for a science fiction or fantasy show to win. But it was nice to see, at least to get a little bit of recognition. Again, I think it was amazing. I think it was an achievement, and I'm disappointed that it didn't win, but I'm not surprised at all that it didn't win. We did get 8 Emmy Awards for Severance Season 2. Tremel Tillman, who I think we all love, won for his performance as Best Supporting Actor in a Drama. Britt Lauer, who, again, I think we all love, won for Lead Actress in a Drama, and that was her first nomination ever, which is pretty amazing for her. It won a bunch of technical wins. Merritt Weaver won for Outstanding Guest Actress. That was, I think she was the sister-in-law or sister, I think. Won for cinematography, production design, all kinds of other stuff. So again, good wins. The Penguin walked away with a big one. Kristen Milioti won for Best Actress for Lead Limited Series, which, again, is it's not nothing. Those limited series categories are pretty tough. And Last of Us also won for sound editing, but didn't really walk away with the high trophy it was after. What did win? So Outstanding Drama was The Pit. And Andor, Last of Us, Severance, Slow Horses, White Lotus, those all got nominated. Those are shows I think we are all fans of.
Slow Horses did win an award, too.
It did. Yeah. Best Actor was Noah Wyle for The Pit. I haven't watched The Pit, and I have no intention of watching The Pit. I hate hospital dramas. I had just too much time in the trenches for me. I can't.
I got to say, I only ever watched one episode of it, and it was really good. It was good enough that I would think I would I don't watch hospital dramas or police dramas if I can avoid them.
Yeah.
Although British police dramas are generally much better. But so I did watch one, and I could see why it was kind of seen as a good one. But again, and Noah Wyle winning, it was almost like the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings award, because he was nominated so many times for AR, but he never got anything, right?
We did get Outstanding Comedy Series. A lot of the comedy awards went to the studio and Seth Rogen. He was Best Director. He was Best Actor. It was Best Show. he kind of cleaned up there. Again, noted Canadian. Happy to see the success. I thought his speeches were very, very genuine, where he's like, I didn't expect to win. I never win anything. This is amazing. So that was kind of fun to watch. Adolescence, the other show from Netflix, the one about the teen boy accused of murder, walked away with a bunch of them, including a bit of a surprising but very very interesting win for the young man who's like 15 years old, who was the star. But yeah, it was.
I gotta interrupt here, because you got to remember that we talked a lot about the studio on this show, right? Mm-hmm. Especially the Oneer, which is the episode that was nominated. Mm-hmm. And I also picked Adolescence, and I said it should be something people should watch. And by the way, he did do it. We find out in the first episode that he was guilty. The question is, it's a why done it as opposed to who done it. But it was a technically amazing performance. Like, not just, I mean, in terms of how it was filmed and all that kind of stuff. Like the all 4 episodes are over an hour long oneers, right? Mm-hmm. So from a technical point of view, it's an amazing piece, and you're going to see a lot more of that too. And the kid was in episode 3. The actress who won for best supporting actress or whatever. She's only in episode 3, and he won for episode 3 as well, the kid, right? To be honest with you, Stephen Graham is the writer, and he was the main actor. He won. Arguably, I don't know. I thought Colin Farrell should have won that one, to be honest with you. But and I did see.
I think Colin Farrell agrees with you.
Does he?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that was an interesting Performance, because he was completely unrecognizable, even from the Batman movie, right? So, but yeah, I gotta pull it back in for Spotcast and say we did call Adolescence as one of the shows to watch last year, and I was glad to see it won, especially for the kid.
Jaime, any of these catch your eye? Are you like, hey, why didn't this win? Why did this one win?
No, I thought they were pretty much in line with what I was expecting, except for just how much the studio won. That's the one thing I was like, okay, they'll get something. It's a good show, and Hollywood kind of likes things about itself, so it would fit. I was a little bit surprised that Severance didn't get more stuff. I mean, it certainly got actors stuff, but The Pit I've watched sort of, I don't know if I call it vicariously or maybe it's parasocially. I have not watched the show directly. I have watched Dr. Mike on YouTube react to a whole bunch of episodes. And he covers it from like a, medical accuracy kind of thing. And it does pretty well from a medical accuracy standpoint compared to other shows he watches that he just loses his mind over, like, you would never do this, or how could you know that? You'd have to do expensive tests to figure that out. And then I think maybe my favorite win, not just for who they chose, but their reaction was Kristen Milioti winning for the Penguin, and just her
reaction was great.
Her reaction felt like, here's the thing, right? For folks who didn't watch the Emmys, they had Nate Bargatze do a bit where, like, hey, here's the money for like the Boys and Girls Club. Every second you go over the 45 seconds you have, instead of playing music, you just watch the money go down. And every second you're under 45, the money goes back up. And it did better to kind of move things around. But I do kind of feel like, just like they had on the broadcast, they're just like, oh, this actor or actress would like to also thank so-and-so. I'm like, you might as well just put a QR code and then it just links us to the tweet or something. Because I don't need like, thank you to the Academy, thank you to my, spouse, kids, whomever, thank you to my manager, thank you to this person, the other cast, the other nominees. It's like, you might as well just have ChatGPT write these, right? Like, they're so, they don't feel genuine. Hers, in contrast, which is why I bring it up, was super genuine. Yeah. Right? It felt like she really didn't plan to do it that way.
Yeah. No, she was, you're right. It was a very sweet moment. And I think, that was a hell of a performance. She was really like, I've always been a fan, but she really went to another level in that performance. So it was definitely well earned.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the actresses that were in that. I did watch Disclaimer, and I watched. I've seen the Black Mirror episode. That was a really funny, good performance. But yeah, Kristen Milioti, she was the leader in that category. I haven't seen Dying for Sex, and I haven't seen Sirens.
But Dying for Sex was heartbreaking, but really good. My wife and I watched that together. It was tremendously well done. But man,
what's the TLDR? What's the gist of that? I mean, you don't have to give it away, but what's the reason?
It's pretty much in the title. So Michelle Williams, who is a phenomenal actress, she plays a character. It's based on a true story. She basically finds out that she's got terminal cancer and decides to leave her husband and explore her sex life in her dying time. And she's incredible in it. Everybody who's in it is incredible in it. It is beautiful and heartbreaking and just absolutely terrific television. But it is a gut punch after a gut punch after a gut punch. It is a hard, like, you got to be emotionally ready for that kind of thing. But I will say, it is terrific television. It's on Disney Plus here in Canada, so easy to get. But yeah, I cried. It was very sad. But it's also very funny at times. It's very, very thoughtful. I mean, if you have a fear of death, watching this, I think will actually help. It's actually a beautiful exploration of like what it's like to have the time at the end of your life to reflect on your life and what you want. It's a beautiful show, but you're gonna cry.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, let's move on to this is one of our favorite topics. Who's buying who? Paramount,
and is the FCC involved? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Paramount is apparently exploring a bid to purchase Warner Brothers Discovery. So Paramount, which was just recently purchased by Larry Ellison, the chairman and co-founder of Oracle, one of the wealthiest people on the planet, who, as part of the sale process, that was what arrived with the whole Stephen Colbert's show being canceled. And, there's some speculation that was a quid pro quo for the sale going through the FCC in the United States. So this company now is setting its sights on potentially purchasing all of Warner Brothers Discovery. So that would be we'd be talking about HBO, DC Comics, all kinds of Discovery Channel, obviously, all the Warner Brothers assets. That would basically mean a massive multi-billion-dollar acquisition that would form one of the largest film and television libraries and production studios on the planet. But it would also mean a lot of people would lose their jobs because of duplication and everything else. So it would be a mammoth deal, not quite as big as Disney buying Fox, but not nothing. This is obviously not done. This is just speculation that this is happening. But this would create a very different playing field on streaming and as far as who makes what and who shows what. We would probably see Paramount Plus folded into HBO. That would mean Star Trek's contents are all moving again. What do you guys make of this rumor and this potential merger?
It's crazy, but, and by the way, as we record today, Larry Ellison is the richest man in the world. It worries me that, I think the elephant in the room today is that, Jimmy Kimmel was suspended yesterday. His show's off the air for now. Colbert's been told that he's going to end in I think in 10 months or less than that now. So I mean, I think there is a trend. Mark Maron said today, like, this is the first indication of the beginning of the end, as it were, right? So these kind of moves do worry me. I mean, like, they kind of worry me from the point of view, like, I mean, at a base level, where am I going to get my Star Trek from, kind of thing, would be the first reaction. I'm a fan of Discovery Channel. I've been watching it for years. I haven't really kept up with it since I've cut the cable, but it worries me that all this stuff is going to go into one big basket. But then that's the same thing that happened when Warner Brothers bought all the people that they bought, right? So all the it's kind of like the Walmartization of small shops. I mean, we've lost so many small mom and pop shops through mergers and acquisitions in the last 10, 20 years, right? So
Yeah.
It does make it kind of weird and scary, right?
Well, and it's a funny thing because we talk about the fragmentation, right? It's getting harder and harder because you have to have all these different services, unless of course you're as smart as our good friend Jaime Lopez Jr. and economize your choices from time to time. We've been saying for a while now, there's only so long that you can continue to, this company creates its own streaming service and this company creates its own streaming service. People's pockets are only so deep, and they're going to choose with their wallets. At which point the billionaires will say, oh, okay, well, it's not worthwhile for me to have this company anymore, and it becomes much more logical for them to amalgamate and everything else. So it's funny to see these things both expand and contract and expand and contract. But Jaime, I know you love these corporate intrigue stories. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten about the Skydance deal, so my gut before I read before I read the article was, where does Paramount have money? Did they find in the couch cushions? And it's like, oh, that's right, because they got acquired by another company. Okay, I'm tracking now. I guess it does sort of help keep these things more stable and afloat. I had been rooting, or I guess I still am, because it's not a done deal. I still am rooting for Apple to open up the pocketbook and acquire the Paramount Plus stuff. Could you
imagine Star Trek with an Apple budget?
Yeah, and then they could just do regular stuff, right? It's not gonna like, well, this last season is going to be a little bit shorter. Like, no, we'll just make it the same. We got money. We just make it all up on iPhones.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see. I mean, this is not the last move. This is just another move. There's going to be more moves. You're absolutely right, Jaime. I mean, the biggest looming thumb on all of the scales here is Apple. They have the most money. They have the most opportunity, but they've been kind of hell-bent on just creating their own thing and not just acquiring other people's assets. It feels like they're like the big Pac-Man at the end of the game that eats the other ones, like everybody's gobbling each other up and they're all becoming, all these hybrid, associated things. And eventually Apple's just gonna be like, all right, now we'll buy all of you. Like, it's just,
but in the tech world though, Jaime and I both know this, but in the tech world, Apple does exactly do that, right? They buy technologies all the time. Like, you don't get things like Siri or Sherlock or the features we're getting in devices other than the hardware stuff. That's where Apple's always sort of been. But software and services and features that you see in the phones and on your Macs, a lot of times are done through acquisitions, right?
Yeah.
They buy entire teams.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it makes sense to an extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a related world around the Jimmy Kimmel stuff that you mentioned, Tim, obviously the other elephant in the room is the killing of the conservative broadcaster Charlie Kirk last week, which has been very, very, very politicized and very, very, very hyper covered. One of the effects of this has been, as it happened with Jimmy Kimmel, people taking people's comments and obviously taking exception to things that people say. This has led to consequences, cancellations that are both real and cancellations that are more of the social media variety. This one was really interesting to me, and I saw it play out in real time. So a comic book writer named Gretchen Felker Martin, who is also a novelist, and I have not read her stuff, but apparently quite good novelist, was on social media in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death last week and made a comment that I probably should not read here, so I'm not going to. But for this comment that she read, that she posted, DC Comics responded very quickly. And again, DC Comics is tied to Warner Brothers Discovery. And obviously nobody wants to rock the boat on that front because there are these corporate entanglements. So she posted, what many people would have viewed as a strong statement. And as a result, the comic book that she's writing for DC, which is called Red Hood, which is about the one of the characters that was Robin, who is now his own hero / vigilante named the Red Hood. has been canceled, and it was canceled on the day that it hit the stands. So on Wednesday of last week, the book came out in the morning, and she was the post came out, and then DC announced that it was pulling the book and canceling the series immediately, and they have told retailers to pull copies off the stand and return them. That is, of course, not happening because comic collectors are insane people, and so comic collectors are now ravenously trying to get a hold of the copies that are out there, because there will never be more copies of that one issue that came out. I happened to be traveling for work, and I saw them on the stands, and I looked at them and I thought, you know what, it's all in kind of questionable taste. I'm just going to walk away from this one. But in the aftermarket, I've seen copies, and of course, this being the modern comic book culture, they did, I don't know, like 5 different alternate covers and stuff like that. They're now $50, $60, $75 a pop after debuting at $5 or $4. So the aftermarket for that, considering it will never see the light of day again, is pretty big. And yeah, this was supposed to be like a limited series or an ongoing series, and so it's gone and won't be continued. So basically, even if you bought that first issue and you thought, hey, this is actually pretty good, doesn't matter, it's not going anywhere. But yeah, so the cancel culture that we just talked about, and the corporatization of all these decisions and stuff are definitely very, very real, and have real consequences. So, I mean, it's hard, obviously, Charlie Kirk was a very divisive person, but the consequences of his death are continuing to ripple out throughout America, and obviously having effects on the rest of the world, because it's infecting pop culture pretty widely at this point. So pretty shocking to have that quick and harsh a door slammed. But again, we'll have the story posted in the show notes. You can read it. You can read the comments. I thought that this response was extreme, but I understand people are entitled to their rights. It's crazy. It's just this whole culture we're in right now. The gaslighting, the cancellations, the censorship. It's all a lot. It's really, really scary stuff.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. What can we say?
Do you guys want to just walk away from that one? Just do you want to weigh in, or do you want to run for the hills?
I think I want to make a prediction. So maybe a couple predictions, because I could see where some things go here. So for like Colbert and Kimmel, I suspect that they'll end up doing some sort of YouTube podcast kind of setup, possibly on Spotify. Very, very, like, if you imagine
Strike Force 5, they'll come back as Strike Force 5.
Yeah. And if you can imagine, like a Joe Rogan-esque type show, record for a few hours, and then you put the episode on YouTube, you put it on iTunes, you have clips for, shorts and TikTok and stuff. Like, that's what I have the one sort of prediction. They'll make probably just as much, if not more, money, because it'll all be a much less expensive show. It'll be 100% theirs, not share with the network. The other thing I could see is that who doesn't have to worry about advertisers too much, who is trying to get into live media. I'm like, oh, well, Netflix might be an interesting place for somebody to land. Of like, you can complain all you want, we're gonna display it, we're gonna make it just like they've done WWF, they've done Mike Tyson versus Logan Paul, all of these like live things, NFL games, all of these live things. I'm like, why couldn't they just continue to do one of these late shows live, and then you can just watch it on Netflix? They'd be less affected by the affiliate broadcast type stuff. They'd be less affected by advertisers. So that's kind of my dark horse pick for where things could go.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see where they decide to move forward without, because again, I think Stephen Colbert won the Emmy Award for Best Talk Show the other day at the Emmys. He said that his name is attached to it, but there's 200 people, including all the writers and the people that work on his staff and all these different roles and stuff like that. That kind of scope is really hard to do without big money behind it. It'll be interesting to see how the scale of these things adjusts too.
Yeah, that's where the money for Strike Force 5 went to the
they were paying their staffs.
They were using it to pay the staffs. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's try and slide away from the political and try and go forward from there. So, a bunch of stuff was announced as far as shows and movies that are coming and timelines and stuff like that. So I'll just sort of bang those out. Foundation, which wrapped up season 3 last week, has been renewed for season 4. That's not really a shocker. Although it's great news because it always feels like that show was always a little bit kind of, well, is it going to get it? Is it going to get it? But it definitely is set up for a 4th season at least. So I'm glad that's happening. Daredevil Born Again was renewed for season 3 in spite of the fact season 2 hasn't even arrived yet. So that is a positive sign. That means that what they're seeing from season 2 is making the powers that be at Disney Plus happy. So that's good news. So not only are we going to get a season 2 next year, but that means we'll get a season 3 in 2027. Hold on to your socks on that one. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the second spin-off series from A Game of Thrones, is coming in January, according to the head of HBO. They announced that. He announced that this week. So we're going to get 2 seasons of Game of Thrones in the same year. We're going to get A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms in January, and then sounds like June is where we're going to get season 3 of House of the Dragon. So be a lot of Game of Thrones for 1 year, which is pretty cool. And the next Super Mario movie has, we knew that it was coming next year, but they have announced that it's going to be called the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which is really interesting because for those of us who are Wii fans, Super Mario Galaxy is probably one of the best Mario games ever made, and Galaxy 2 also really amazing. My daughter and I played that from beginning to end, finished every darned level in that thing. So very exciting to see where they're going to go, some of those characters and powers and stuff like that. So that actually sounds really fun. So I'm actually really looking forward to that more than I was when I knew it was just Super Mario 2. So very cool. And Jaime, you got some stuff for us too.
Yeah, we've seen a trailer for Tron. This is the latest trailer, which this one follows kind of an interesting pattern of going through like the prior movies and using the music beats from those. So I thought it was a well done trailer. Maybe still some doubts about the movie itself, but the soundtrack seems pretty cool. Somebody who was putting together this trailer really knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I have a feeling the soundtrack's going to be an absolute banger, but I'm not sure about the movie.
Yeah. I missed your post about this trailer. Is this the one that just came out? Because I think I saw this last week, maybe?
Yeah, this is a newer trailer that starts with the original Tron and then uses the music, the imagery, stitches together into Tron Legacy and the music there, and then stitches together into Tron Ares. And it's kind of interesting to see how they sort of artfully chose. You can see that this is the same thing across different generations of movies. So pretty well done. I mean, it makes me more hyped for the movie, which is exactly what the trailer should do. Even though previously I've said, I kind of have my doubts about the movie itself. So even I can be influenced by this. No, even though I feel like I should know better. But you know what I'm feeling pretty good about is this third Knives Out movie, Wake Up Dead Man, or Wake Up Dead Man. Wake up, dead man. I'm not sure where to put the emphasis on because it doesn't have a comma. Wake up, dead man. It sounds like Wake Up Dead Man is the action. Big old cast. Jeremy Renner, right?
Yeah, this premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival last week as well, and
the film or the trailer.
The film, the actual film was being shown at TIFF while you were away, and I was like, if Tim was home, he'd 100% have gone and seen that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I would have tried anyway. I got to see the Glass Onion one. They did it as a free screening, so
yeah. Yeah, this I like these. I mean, I like Rian Johnson's filmmaking, and I like what they've done with the first two of these. I'm way in on this. I definitely would see this. Whether or not I would go to the effort of seeing it in the theater, because I think it's in theaters for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it drops on Netflix, right? So it'll be interesting to see if people make the effort to go see it on the big screen. Not sure if it's going to be playing here at my local cinema. My little 2-screen cinema nearby.
Oh, right. Yeah. Cool. One more. Jaime, you got one more?
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to introduce this one because this is kind of a later breaking one during the day, and it was not on my bingo card. So if anybody remembers Anaconda, the 90s movie with like John Voight and a whole cast of folks. The idea behind this movie...
Wasn't that Jennifer Lopez, too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure is.
Ice Cube, I want to say.
Sure is, yep.
Like a whole cast of folks. And here, the concept for this movie, and also titled Anaconda, is that movie exists as a movie, and Jack Black and Paul Rudd would like to remake or reboot the movie themselves. And they accidentally kill their stunt snake. They need to go get a real snake to film the movie. It's very meta. It's very weird. This trailer, going along with people doing a good job with trailers, uses an excellent segment from Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back. It was like, my Anaconda. I'm like, yeah, there you go. Probably not a whole lot of songs that have Anaconda somewhere in the lyrics. So well done.
Yeah, I mean the original was just a masterwork of sort of schlocky, cheesy pseudo horror, right? I mean, it looks funny. It could be a really good, just like watch it on streaming at some point kind of thing. Would I go see this in the theater? I would not. I absolutely would not. But it looks like it might be a good laugh.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it did. It looked pretty funny, but. Typical Jack Black and Paul Rudd kind of vehicle, right?
Yep.
It reminded me of Tropic Thunder a bit.
Yeah, I could see
the trailer anyway. Cool. All right, well, that brings us to the main part of the show where we talk about something Star Trek related, hopefully, and we're going to be pouring one out for Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3. In this case, we're looking at Season 3, Episode 10, New Life and New Civilizations. And so I have an elevator pitch, but you guys got an elevator pitch?
Oh, yes. You want to lead us off, Tim?
So, yeah, wasn't this called All Good Things?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my pitch.
How about you, Jaime?
I went with it was all a dream, ...
Yeah. I went a little more scorched earth on this one. I said, hey, remember that one episode from this season that kind of sucked? How about we do something with that?
Yeah.
Like, hey, what if we took that episode that was probably the weakest one of the season and then expanded on it, but not well?
Oh, the jumping through the different dimensions?
Yeah. That was like the weakest episode of the season, and they doubled down on it, and it made for a weak finale.
Yeah, well, but it did give us closure on Batel, right? Because we knew that somehow she has to leave the show at some point in the future, right? So
yeah,
and
yeah,
and they kind of stole that. What was the episode of Rick and Morty where Morty gets put into the game and he has a whole life?
Yeah, I mean, it's been obviously there's been a couple episodes of Star Trek. We see, All Good Things, but it was also the episode where,
the pipe,
and yeah, absolutely. So like,
the flute,
like it's a well-worn trope, and this was particularly not the best executed version of it. There have been so many better versions of it. This, yeah, I mean, we can have a larger discussion as we continue about the overall quality of this season. I felt like it had some really high highs and some really head-scratching, not lows, but not greats. This was it wasn't good. It just wasn't good. Particularly for the finale. I thought this was kind of like, if this was supposed to tie together all those little moments we've had with Batel and with Corby and all stuff over the season, I'm like, that is a weak through line. That's a really weak through line for the whole season. I thought Batel was a good character. I think she's a good actor, but my level of investment was pretty low going in, and it was even lower coming out. And on top of that, I also thought like some of the leaps in logic in this episode were really head scratching, where she's just like, oh, I've got it figured out. I'm the chosen one and I'm supposed to do this. And now all these things have come together. Like, where are you pulling this stuff from? Like, this is
she obviously saw a Deep Space Nine,
well,
right?
She was basically like, she was the avatar of a writer. She was not an actor, and she was not a human being in those moments where she's like, oh, I've got it figured out. It was because I've got this blood and I've got this Gorn thing and I've got this, and that's why I'm the chosen one and I have to do this, Chris. It was just like, get out of here. This is awful. I think there's been some high highs in this season. I think there's been some terrific episodes this season, but there's also been this and yeah, I just felt like this was a really weird way to land the plane on this season, and on the Battelle character and on the importance of her in Pike's life. I thought this was just a miss.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it either. It did feel a little bit like it would have worked better as the slow episode before the finale, the season finale.
Yeah,
it felt a little bit kind of like a downer episode. And also pour one out for my dark horse hypothesis that maybe Battelle was like the mother of all modern Gorn, that her DNA was going to mix in a weird way to do that. And they did do the DNA mix thing, but it was for a completely different reason, not related to the Gorn.
I was pulling for the spin-off of your theory, which was Were-Gorn, where she becomes like, half Gorn, half human, like a Were-Gorn or something. I thought that would at least have been more interesting than what we got, which is like, when somebody shoots a statue, my head turns colors. Like, yeah. As with the rest of the season, I found my interest drifting most to the seeds that they're planting for a potential TOS reboot, spin-off, whatever. I thought the stuff with Spock and Kirk was the most interesting part of the show. The part where they do the phaser team up, where they do a mind meld and they align the ships and use the phasers to activate the beam. I thought that was the best pew 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 of it. Frankly, was that part. But also it was really funny. It was a funny scene because Battelle and Pike are down there and they're just basically standing there waiting for the phaser blasts to work. If it doesn't work, they're like, everybody there is going to die. They didn't tell like anybody around them. There's just people just like sitting around in that scene, like having conversations, and all of a sudden these like phasers from the sky come down and like hit this one rock and it activates it, and it's still like streaming down these incredibly powerful beams. And the people are, if you will go back and watch that scene, the people who are like the extras who are dressed up as aliens are just sitting around having a chit chat. They're not even looking at the beams. I'm like, what? Who decided? Like, if you were just sitting there and like two strangers walked up from a species you didn't know, and then all of a sudden these beams from the sky came firing down, would you not just like, I don't know, crap yourself or something? Like, what? What's the natural reaction? Are these just like a super chill race of people that they encountered?
Yeah, the double pew pew pew, and then like standing there. Seems like a lot of people online definitely asked, like, so what if they just missed?
Yeah.
Would you want to stand off to the side somewhere and then run to the door?
Yeah, like just the fact, like, even just common courtesy. Hey, maybe Battelle and Pike could have just said, hey, by the way, we're doing something here. Maybe you guys maybe want to take a walk. Like, they just were just like, you guys continue having your chit chat. We're just going to blast this thing with 2 spaceship-sized lasers. It's fine. I don't know. I just thought that was like maybe one of the biggest like Starfleet dick moves ever.
Mm-hmm.
Any other pew 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 stuff catch you? I thought the stuff between Battelle and Gamble was pretty weak sauce.
Yeah. Well, then the whole trippy, generation / all good things section of the episode was kind of weird. It was even 2001 Space Odyssey, where it ends at the end, where every time Keir Delay turns to his left, he's an older person kind of thing, right? So,
which again was done really, really well.
In 1966 or 67 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
69 maybe, 69. Don't fact check.
I was gonna say, guess who's on fact check next week?
Yeah. Yeah, it could have been. I mean, and again, why not a cliffhanger kind of ending? And they didn't seem sad enough at the end, right? Like I don't know, maybe I missed that, but
hey Pike, you already know that like you could have had this life with her that you're never going to get, so that would be very sad.
Yeah.
B, you know that your beloved girlfriend has just been turned into a statue for all time. That's pretty weird. And also, you know that you're still destined to die horribly again. So, like, that's a lot of L's for one guy.
But I get the impression that he did have that 20, 30 years with her, right?
I think he did. And I guess that's kind of Strange New Worlds writer's way of trying to give him some happy future. Like, he actually got to experience that with her, even though, because he, is supposed to have the tragedy. It doesn't happen. And then he kind of lives his life inside that world. And then obviously it doesn't come back around. But I don't know. It just, I saw an interview with the showrunners this week where they admitted that the season was a bit uneven and that they said that it was a byproduct of coming off of the writer's strike and the stuff that happened around that and trying to sort of organize things very quickly and get it rolling. So, some stuff was ready to go and some stuff they kind of had to fly by the seat of their pants. And he has already said that the show will be more consistently quality for season 4, which is good. So hopefully we'll get that sooner than later and things will look up.
Yeah.
Easter egg, obviously the mind meld and the Kirk and Spock stuff. I thought the fact that they were playing their 3D chess game and that they were going to play 3D chess. I thought the little in-jokes about having read each other's minds and the weird stuff that was in there was pretty funny. Did you guys catch any other good Easter eggy stuff? It wasn't very Trek lore-y kind of episode either.
No.
Yeah, I don't think I caught any other Easter eggs. They did talk about mind meld. I think they said Katra stuff, the 5D chess.
Oh, I guess Scotty was wearing his actual Scott family kilt, which is the exact same one that noted Canadian James Doohan played Scotty in the original series, where it's the exact same colors. So that's a good Easter egg too, right?
I guess it also continues the tradition of hazing the newbie and telling him that it's a formal affair for Pike's, cookout barbecue at his place.
Yeah. I have some quotes. I have some good quotes. Pelia stole the show early. I need to remember to tell you about the time I spent with a time-traveling doctor I once knew.
Yeah.
So that seemed like a Who reference, but I'm picking up what you're laying down, Spocko. Just unnecessarily weird, but very funny. Kirk talking to Spock. I'm not too big on intimacy without someone knowing every single one of my thoughts. And then I thought Battelle did get one good written line where she said, the love I feel is brighter than your darkness. I thought that was something that maybe we should all pin on our chests in considering the world we're currently living in. So that was something. Did you guys have any other lines that stood out?
No, I think you got them.
Yeah. And my big question was pretty much what we've been talking about. Like, was this a good payoff for a season with some high highs and low lows? And I'm going to say no, this was not how I would have wanted this to end. All things being equal, but I guess it's what we got, and we'll just put this in our back pocket and go back and watch 4.5 Vulcans and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, my complaint about the season generally was that there were too many episodes where they just rehashed older. I mean, they've been doing the tropes, like we get them on the tropes, but they rehashed 3 or 4 plots this year, right? That like the one that I missed with you guys with the Gorn episode with Ortega. That was and again it messes with the what we know about various civilizations, right? Like the Gorn, and it messes again the prequel problem, right? It messes with the episode of Tarmac and Jalad at Tanagra, that one, and the Gorn episode, what is it called, the Arena, right? So it's called the Arena. Yeah,
I think it's called Arena. Yeah,
Arena. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, we'll look forward to season 4.
Now, a word from our sponsor. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we have 2 episodes of Alien Earth to sort of cover. Since we didn't record last week because we were all busy, we're going to cover The Fly, which is the 6th episode of season 1, and Emergence, which is the 7th episode of season 1. And The Fly one was really kind of interesting episode where, we learned that the little octopus guy is a little bit more than just a strange alien, right? He's manipulating the situation. So I don't know how did they miss the capability of that fly organism that it would destroy the synths, right?
I think they weren't sure that it was going to go after non-organic stuff. Like, yeah, you wouldn't send a human in there, juicy meat, but Kirsch covers, I think in the subsequent episode, he covers the fact, like, they're on a planet that doesn't have much organic stuff, so they mine minerals out of the environment.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also possible that, in their quarantine, they didn't have enough time to realize that, what those creatures could do. Maybe they needed to have a little nest built before they started actually like going out and gathering food or something. Who knows? But yeah, you're right. It was kind of a weird twist to have these things be like, and they can kill these like theoretically very, very advanced robotic hybrid machines, right?
Who are occupied by children, which we'll bring again. Like why would they leave a child in charge of, a dangerous environment like that?
Yeah. And especially when we know now that like Kirsch can actually see through their eyes, and like he's been this weird voyeur for the past few episodes, and it does come around by the time we get to the episode 7 Emergence. We finally he starts paying that off a little bit, but he kind of knew going in that that Toodles or Isaac could have been in danger, and obviously not in the way that it played out, but it seemed pretty sketchy the way that he's been treating these children, and there's been intimations that like I think it was when they had the meeting between the 2 teams, between the Yutani team and the Boy Cavalier team, where somebody says to him like, hey, what does it feel like to be obsolete with these new, beings around? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm still fully relevant. It almost feels like he's a little bit waiting for them to fail, wanting them to fail, setting them up to fail.
Yeah, and we get the impression in Emergence that he's kind of in on it too, right? Like, not sure whose side he's on. Right?
Well, it seems like he's trying to trap the Yutani people. Like, he's using the kids as bait, which is not what I thought. But then that seems to be how it played out, was that he was using Smee as bait, right? Slightly and Smee as bait, because when he sends them out with the body, you're like, is he like trying to help Yutani's team? It's like, no, he's actually like luring them out there so that they bring those people in so that they can then catch them in the act, right? Because that's how it plays out.
Well, and you just mentioned he can see through their eyes, so he knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I mean, the Fly episode was very slow burn, but like very creepy. Like the episode had lots of like, just that, like, you knew that bad things were going to happen. Obviously the stuff that happens to Isaac, and like the sheep eye monster hybrid thing messing with him. And then obviously what Slightly tries to do, and eventually he tries to lure Joe in. That doesn't work, and then eventually he lures Arthur in, and Arthur of course gets attacked by the face hugger, and all of that sort of like, it was very Aliens vibe as far as that, like you just felt this like bad things are going to happen vibe through the episode. It had that real tension to it, which I associate with the Aliens franchise, that like, something bad's about to happen, that definitely felt very Aliens-y in that episode for sure. And then Emergence definitely felt like a really weird juxtaposition from what we know about Aliens, because we very rarely do we get to see the aliens outside of an enclosed space. So like to have the xenomorph wandering through the forests on the island, and like popping out of places and attacking people, and that was a very weird un-aliens kind of interesting take on that as well.
Well, there's also the Wendy connection too, the fact that she can communicate with it, and it seems to have a relationship with her that she almost like it's like her attack dog sort of thing, right?
Yeah, well, and that's it, right? But is that what you want? Like, it's an interesting thing to consider, I guess, as an Alien fan or a fan of the Alien franchises. Do you want a xenomorph kind of lapdog that does what it's told, or do you want this like anarchic kind of like it's coming after everybody, it doesn't have favorites, it's kind of this merciless I thought that was like I know Alien 3 is very divisive. I like it because I'm a really big fan of David Fincher, and I think that it really went to some interesting places. But spoilers if you haven't seen Alien 3, but it's been like 30 years, so sorry. But the fact that Ripley is a host, and the fact that the alien like is explicitly trying to not hurt her is part of the dynamic that I thought was really interesting in that particular movie. Of like, normally it's just this unmitigated, unrestrained murderer of living things, and yet in that moment where it's like, oh no, I can tell that you're carrying a queen, leaves her alone. I thought that was really, really interesting. And in this one, just the idea that like this thing is kind of doing what it's told is just kind of an unusual vibe.
By Wendy, which is weird, because like, you know, you get the sort of, it's kind of that Ripley relationship with you know, when she's carrying the queen, like you said, but because Wendy, I keep expecting it to attack Wendy, right? Because she's not a real person. She's not a human being. She's not carrying, you know, any kind of, she doesn't have any value to the xenomorph other than the fact that she can communicate with it. Because it doesn't seem like she's even sure of the control she has. But then when she does weird things, or she does sort of get to kill the 5 people that are pointing guns at them, and her brother looks at her like, what the hell did you do? Right. Yeah. So, and actually that's how we end the episode, is that the brother does something that really annoys Wendy, right? So
I mean, basically he sees Nibs gonna lose it, and ends up incapacitating Nibs, and so it does leave on a bit of a setup for the final episode coming next week, right?
Yeah. Is that where we are? Okay.
Yeah, but there's only one episode to go, and it's only an 8 episode season, so this is it next week. So. Do you get the impression, Jaime, do you think that this is one and done, or are we going to have season 2, 3, 4 of Alien Earth? Do you think that Disney's going to walk away from this one, or are we now in an Alien television show era?
I really do think this will need a hold my beer moment to end in 8, given where 7 goes. So I am thinking that a season 2 is coming.
Yeah.
We've developed, like you said, we've developed a caring for this, like these characters, right? So, like even the guy, I forget his name now, the one that's trying to steal the eggs,
Morrow. I think he's Morrow.
Morrow, yeah. Like you, there's some affinity with him. There's affinity with Wendy and her brother, and where that goes, and then as she's finding out more and more about the truth, like them coming across the gravesite where the kids were all actually buried, right?
Yeah.
And
the reaction that Wendy has versus the reaction that Joe has, right? Where Joe's like, this is, you know, like, I know that Wendy is hosting the consciousness of Marcy, but my sister's body is still here. Like, and whereas she's like, cool, let's go. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be a telling moment, and I think that's kind of comes back to his decision making at the end of the episode, right, where he's like, yeah, no, we gotta stop this. This has gone too far. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where they decide to leave us here, because I agree with you, Jaime. I think that it would be a tremendous lift to try and get us out of this in a happy way in one episode to go. I feel like we're set up for at least one more. And I mean, I like the idea of, and I think we talked about it in a previous episode, but I like the idea of doing this as sort of an anthology like Fargo is, where you kind of can approach the alien stuff from different angles and stuff. But I have a feeling that we're going to be focused on the Wendy character, I'd be fine if Kid Cavalier or Boy Cavalier dies next week. That'd be fine with me. That guy's, he's just the worst.
Yeah.
I thought the scene in Emergence that I thought was the most interesting one in this week's episode was the one where he's trying to get the eyeball creature to go off on pi. What are the next digits of pi? And gets so super excited when it's like stomping the numbers for like the next 3 digits of pi. To just get a sense of like how deeply intelligent this creature is. And he's like, we need to get this thing a human body stat so that it can like,
I thought he was suggesting he'd hit the guy he was talking to, he'd throw him in. And
I mean, that guy could go too. He's a Adam Ines. He's a real poop in a punch bowl. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who sort of lives, who dies, how it all plays out. Again, theoretically, one xenomorph can do a lot of damage, but it's also, I just have a feeling that this is going to be more stage setting for a season 2 than it's going to be a landing of the plane for season 1. But we'll see. I think, Noah Hawley's a very talented, television producer and writer. I think it'll be interesting to see if he can make this make sense in a satisfying way. And now Jaime's going to go have a beer, and
yeah,
Tim and I are going to try not to ruin the end of season 3 of Foundation for him.
Yeah. I mean, my one thing about Foundation was it's almost like it was weird, but that we're talking about the season 3, but we're also talking about the finale. When Empire, the older, or Dusk is his name, I guess, breaks all the toys.
Well, he's Brother Darkness now.
Yeah, like he kind of just goes and he destroys all the potential.
The clone works.
He destroys the clone works. He does he do in the baby?
Yes.
I can't remember.
Yeah, everybody, every single version of Empire except for him, to his knowledge, is now destroyed. Although we know that's not true.
Right. Yeah, and then the dispatching of Demerzel, right? Like,
and then following Demerzel up with Day too, right? Who's we had come to enjoy over the course of the season as a very unique take on the Empire character, Day.
I mean, it doesn't mean we'll lose Lee Pace because he could grow up to be the other surviving member of Empire, right? So,
I'd be surprised if he didn't come back.
Yeah, the thing that bothered me the most was the reveal of the mule, right? We talked about that before. It should have, by the book's definition, should have been the musician.
Yeah, Magnifico, right? And that's where it seemed like it was going, but then last week they kind of tipped that it wouldn't be because he clearly had gone through the same brainwashing, right? So it was going to be someone else. I was actually...
But why her? Why the character that they did choose? Because it didn't make sense, because she and her brother or brother or lover or whatever are going to meet the mule in the first episode we see them in, right? So, or is she just playing all of us?
I don't know. I mean, it almost felt like it was like, let's just try and be as twisty as we can and logic be damned. I felt like that was a bit out of left field. Maybe we'll get more clarity next season as to like how it...
We'll do a flashback where we'll kind of see the angle that she really was coming from. And maybe we're supposed to go back to episode 2 and watch it again, sort of thing.
It was a tough one because it was a good twist in that I didn't see it coming. I'm sure you didn't see it coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But at the same time,
no, I was. Yeah.
It was also like it was a twist because it was out of left field. It wasn't like, there were little tastes. No, it was just like, wait, why, what? Again, I'm a pretty observant watcher of these things, and I very much like you was waiting for a twist. Like, it was going to be too easy if they went in and they took out the person they thought was the mule and have that be the end. That was not going to be a satisfactory ending. I figured there was going to be something, but what they did was, it just felt contrived, a little bit off of what I was expecting. I thought the bigger twists, and again, deep apologies to you, Jaime, but yeah, it was Demerzel. What happened with Demerzel was definitely a bigger one to where I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And especially that, because then it plays off at the end there where we see, again, spoilers, but we see where the robots have been hiding out all this time, which was that was a pretty massive twist from my side, because I did not know that's where that was going. But yeah, I mean, this, I think, was the second best season of this. I think season 2 was really good. I think this was pretty good, but again, I think there was also lots of like leaps in logic that kind of didn't necessarily sit where I wanted them to. But I do think this show and the actors are definitely kind of hitting their stride, and I love that it's bringing a fresh take. It's not derivative sci-fi, but it's hard sci-fi. At times it's a little impenetrable. Not enough Harry Seldon in this season. I think that was part of why I enjoyed season 2. Is I like.
Oh, really? Okay.
I like the character, and I liked the interaction with Gale in season 2. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where this goes from here. And it seems like it's shaping up for a pretty epic season 4. So I'm excited about that. And I'm glad to know that they're going to continue this. But yeah, I mean, the stuff with Brother Dusk through the course of the season, I found his arc to be really fascinating, and just the idea of, like when your back's against the wall, what kind of decisions will you make, and the way that he sort of moved forward through this, especially in this last 2 episodes, like the one previously where he's like, hey, you guys made me mad. Guess what I've got? I've got the biggest gun in the galaxy. That was some dark stuff. I mean, yeah, like really, really dark stuff. And then this one, equally dark, but also much more intimately dark, right? It wasn't like from afar. This was like up close and personal, especially, in the end with Day and Demerzel and the baby and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, the Mexican standoff with her it was to protecting the baby, right? Wasn't she?
Yeah. Her programming basically said like save the baby, and so she was screwed, right? So yeah. But yeah, no.
Yeah, because there was one point where I think Day tries to release her from her duty, and she just can't do it, right? So
nope.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I will say the second half of the season was very propulsive. Like a lot of stuff happening. I looked forward to it. I found myself really looking forward to episodes of Foundation, which is, I think, a testament to a quality program.
Yeah, cool. Well, and let's talk about Wednesday. I did manage to get through the final episode today.
Okay.
I had watched part of it, so I hadn't got to the point where we find out, what the connection is between the Addams family, people group, whatever, and the bad guy of the season, right? So. I can't remember. Like, did Pugsley create him in the first part of the season?
He did, yeah. So they did a whole scene, and I think it was like the first or second episode. They did a little claymation scene, very Tim Burton, that was basically showing what the legend of this character was. That that the clock tower exploded, and he had this telltale heart, and he ended up out of the tree, and then. Yeah, Pugsley goes and his electricity basically revives this person as a zombie, and then the more the zombie eats over the course of the episodes, the more human he becomes, to the point where he becomes, pretty much fully back to where he was by
except for one part of his body.
Except for one part of his body. Jaime, did you watch Wednesday?
No, haven't seen the new season. Is it only 2 parts? Is it all complete?
Yeah, it's done.
8 episodes.
Yeah, they just did a 4 and 4, which I guess was their way of trying to sort of get some more run out of it, which I didn't mind, frankly. But it was it's a pretty easy and digestible, just like the first season. I think this is like a less filled with gobbledygook Harry Potter, right? Like that's essentially what we're watching. Is a take on the sort of hey, everything. It's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's Harry Potter. I mean, Harry Potter is incredibly derivative, but it very much felt like this is sort of what you come to expect from this show, which is it's fun, it's playful, it's definitely aimed at young viewers. It's it's got some teen melodrama mixed with some good sort of spooky fun. I mean, I enjoyed the season. I think people are definitely finding their characters. I thought the episode where they where they do a body swap between two of the characters was particularly enjoyable.
That was a good one. Yeah,
I thought that it's always fun to see other actors playing the parts to sort of see how that goes. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, the actress who had had to swap into play Wednesday. She said it was very difficult to sort of emulate Jenna Ortega's, it's Ortega, right? Her portrayal. Like she said, it was really difficult to do that, right? But and obviously Jenna Ortega was having fun playing. What's her name now? I knew it a minute ago.
Enid.
Enid. Yeah. The bright and cheery one, and the whole schoolyard looking at her going, "What is wrong with you?" Right. So.
Yeah.
And then the meltdown at the end. Right?
Yep. Yeah. I think this show, again, it's not high art. It's campy. It's kind of silly. But it's fun and it's easy. And it's again, especially when you're watching like some of the more intense and challenging fantasy sci-fi stuff. This one's it's a nice, like, palate cleansy, fun, easy watch. I think the actors they've got a really good vibe. There's lots of good energy. So yeah, I look forward to where it goes next. They've already said they haven't actually. I've never seen a story that said season 3 is coming, but if you look on Netflix, it says another season is coming. So clearly, it's coming.
It does say yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, I think that was a duh. Like, I mean, for
it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, in that she has to go out. She's going off on an adventure with Fester, right? So.
Yeah, and I read somewhere this week that they're talking about doing an Uncle Fester spin-off series. Which would be fun. I mean, I think he's doing a great job in that role. Yeah. Particularly interesting this season had Christopher Lloyd, of course, in it, who played Fester in the movies that they did a while back, which was kind of fun. Good to see Chris getting out there still. So yeah, I thought the season 2, it does. Jaime, you'll benefit from this when you do your watch, where you don't have to wait the month in between. But there is a bit of a cliffhanger-y moment from the end of season 2 part 1 to season 2 part 2. There's like what happened to that character, and then it does obviously again, in the same way that this would not be permanent in a Buffy show or anything else aimed at young people. It all works out in the end, but it was that was good. And interesting, this season definitely had more of the family. Like, the first season was much more reliant on Jenna Ortega and the kids at the school and stuff like that. This one, they definitely brought more of the what's his name, Luis Guzman and Catherine Zeta-Jones into the mix, and so that was fun. I thought the sword fight scene between Jenna Ortega and Catherine Zeta-Jones, I thought that was very funny. And then I saw an interview with Catherine Zeta-Jones where she's like, I was in 2 Zorro movies, so like I got the sword stuff down pretty good. I was like, oh, that's right, she was actually really good. So yeah. I also think it's very funny too, because she's also like she's Welsh, but she does not in any way sound like she's Welsh, and they cover her up in makeup, so she looks very different. But no, I thought the second half definitely. I mean, it's convoluted. It was much more convoluted, I thought, this season than it was last season. The mystery and just sort of all the different angles. There felt like there was a lot of different character arcs, because we were kind of simultaneously following what's going on with the principal, and we're simultaneously following what's going on with the grandma, and we're simultaneously following on with like what's happening with the kids. I felt like it was a little less on the teen melodrama and a lot more on just like everybody's everything. The family, maybe it would be better to sort of focus a little more in season 3, but yeah, no, it's good. I liked it. Cool.
All right. And then the next 2,
we're going to skip those ones because you said you hadn't caught up on.
Well, no, I mean, I just started season or episode 4, so we can talk about episode 3, and then for Gen V, I've only watched the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So Peacemaker.
Another
Rick up my sleeve.
Yeah. How are you enjoying Peacemaker?
Best dimension ever.
Best dimension ever. Yeah, that's right. Jaime, you're all caught up on Peacemaker?
I am. Only missing Back to the Suture, which just came out tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, another Rick up my sleeve episode 3 was that's the one where he sort of Chris / Peacemaker is exploring this other dimension and exploring the relationship that he has with Harcourt 1B from that universe, and he has that pretty crazy scene where he's taking out the terrorists. I think there's going to be another shoe to drop on like who's actually in charge and how things are in that universe. It seems like it's going to go sideways at some point, but yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And then it's also the episode where we get Judo Master is back from season 1 with the bag full of spicy hot Cheetos, fiery hot Cheetos, and we get to meet noted eagle hunter Red Saint Wild, which was one of the funniest, stupidest things I've ever seen. I cannot believe they keep getting that. What's his name? What's that actor's name?
Roth. Yeah.
He's from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's from The Walking Dead. He's from, oh my god, I'm gonna get so fact checked on this. Yeah,
I'll look it up while you're doing it.
Yeah, I thought that was like so funny, weird, random, and having seen episode 4, like his character continues to be weird and funny as that goes forward too. Yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying this show. I went back and rewatched all of season 1 before this started, and
Michael Rooker.
That's right, Rooker. Yeah, I really enjoyed the first season rewatch that I did. I realized how much I really had come to enjoy these characters and just their absolute random weirdness and just the stuff. I like the creativity that James Gunn puts into it, where he's just like, there's a lot of like, I bet you we couldn't, or, like it feels like it's got a real like, just let's do something weird, fun, funny vibe that I really enjoy about it. The same way I enjoyed his Suicide Squad movie for the same reason. It just kind of felt like, you really could just kind of do anything. And I mean, from the first episode of this season with the orgy to, some of the stuff that's gone on through the first couple of episodes where, just all the random weirdness. It's kind of this delightfully quirky, weird show, and somehow it just works. So yeah, I'm really digging it.
Yeah, it's a good sort of situation comedy / superhero / ridiculousness.
Well, and it's
episode series,
and it's funny because like with love and due respect, I've enjoyed seeing John Cena. I didn't watch John Cena's era of wrestling at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
So I'm not really familiar. I mean, other than seeing some social media clips and stuff, I'm really not familiar with that part of his work. I have seen him in different things as a performer over the past number of years and thought, oh, he's actually genuinely pretty funny, and he's got a vibe to him that I enjoy. But I really enjoyed he is actually having a pretty interesting story character arc from the Suicide Squad movie to the first season of this, where he's kind of obnoxious, misogynist, jerk. Here in season 2, he's much more like thoughtful and introspective, and spending time with these people and making these connections is definitely like evolving the character. And I wasn't sure how Cena was going to do, because that's much more nuanced performing. It's not like the action stuff. It's not like the comedy stuff. He has to be conflicted and introspective, and these are much more challenging things to portray, and he's doing a pretty good job. I got to give him credit. Like I'm never taken out of the moment by like, oh, this big pro wrestler guy or whatever. Like he's landing the plane on this stuff. It's pretty good.
He doesn't seem to be obsessed with his delts as much.
Yeah, although the shaved arms with the veins bulging out of them is always in like finding myself looking at them going like, it's just not a good look. It's just, I mean,
not normal for you.
I mean, I don't shave my arms, but if I did, I'd like to think that there wouldn't be like weird bulging veins. Maybe I should try. I don't know.
Yeah, that does look a little dangerous, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I know some dudes who do that, who do like I shave every inch of my body, and I maybe it's the benefit of being the age that I am as well, and the fact that I'm happily married. But no, not for me. Not for me. Not for me. But, I don't really want to shave every inch of my very hairy European self. So, yeah. Anyway, Jaime, are you you're as up to date as I am? Just knowing that much more, are you any red flags? Is there stuff that you're really liking?
I'm definitely liking this season, and I will second the idea of like it's kind of weird that you have John Cena doing so well on this acting, right? Like it's not a traditional thing of the WWF wrestlers, and then you kind of think of like Dave Bautista, and you're like, bro, there's like some acting chops here. You know, it's kind of a surprising thing. Yeah. You know, both folks going through the James Gunn series, so given a lot to work with as well for their stuff.
That's a great point, actually, because you're right. Like when I think of wrestlers turned actors, obviously The Rock is, Dwayne Johnson definitely on that list. But I can't say I've ever seen a performance of his where I was like, ooh, what an emotional ride he's taking me on here. It's always like, well, he's going to punch that pretty good. There's been other crossovers, Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, all those, there's been a few over the years, but, you're right. Like, it must be just the way that Gunn approaches his stuff, but he seems to have really made a connection with both Batista and Cena and really found something that he can pull out of them that's working. So it's a really good observation.
Yep.
All right. What do you say?
Are we moving on to Gen V, right?
Do you want to do Gen V?
Yeah, we can. We can talk about the first two episodes anyway.
So Jaime, you haven't watched any Gen V at all, right?
I haven't, so I think it's totally okay to do this because I'll be a little bit clueless.
Yeah, I mean it's not a huge leap. Basically, this is a spin-off series from The Boys, set in the same universe. There are crossovers of character, and it's set in the same the seasons that as they happen are happening in conjunction with what's happening in The Boys. So, we've talked obviously about The Boys being very astutely attached to the political climate in the United States right now. This series definitely had that same vibe in a little bit in season 1, but really so far in season 2, I'm finding the parallels between the temperature in Gen V season 2 and the real world American politics to be eerie. As it was for the last season of The Boys, I felt like there was a lot of uncomfortably similar moments and parallels to the way things are happening in your land of the brave and home of the free, or whatever it is you guys are down there. But it's hey, this is a superhero university. This is where the soups go to learn the ropes. You either end up becoming a superpowered superhero working for this giant corporation called Vought, or you end up, working in some ancillary, if you have a less cool power, you end up, becoming a, OnlyFans person or a YouTuber or an influencer or all these different things. This season kind of picks up where we left off, which, at the end of season 1, we saw kind of a split where, some of the students who had been trying to sort of unravel a mystery at the school were basically caught and they were imprisoned. We pick up in season 2 and we're pretty much right there with, one of the students has escaped, one of the students has died. And that's kind of the elephant in the room for this show for the first 3 episodes. Tim, I'm sure you must have felt the same way. So, and we talked about it on this podcast when it happened, but the young actor Chase Perdomo, who was played Andre in the first season and was one of the core characters for the first season, tragically died in a motorcycle accident. And instead of recasting or keeping that character moving forward, they actually chose to have that character die in at this point, some may say heroic, some may say tragic way, probably both. But they make a real point of trying to honor the character and honor Chase. through these first few episodes. We see his picture multiple times, lots of people expressing emotions about this stuff. So they didn't shy away from that, which is kind of nice, because in circumstances sometimes when people leave shows, whether it's for something as horrible as what happened to Chase Perdomo, or whether it's for other reasons, sometimes it kind of gets brushed under the carpet. We actually just saw that on Wednesday season 2. One of the characters from season 1, who was the love interest for Wednesday, they just wrote them out and basically dropped one line and said they've gone. The real life story is much darker, that person had some legal problems that basically got them fired from the show. Here, obviously, it's nice that they didn't shy away from it. It's nice that we as the viewers also get a chance to feel some catharsis and some closure about the tragedy of what happened with Chase, as well as with that character who was, again, part of this sort of core group of students. But I definitely enjoyed the first few episodes here. There's a few leaps of logic as far as all is forgiven. You can come back to school, even though last season you tried to expose our dark secrets and stuff. I thought that was kind of a little bit it doesn't exactly align with what we've seen from The Boys, where Homelander is this merciless monster who kills people who wrong him and stuff. But I've enjoyed that. I watched all 3 episodes now. I watched the third one this afternoon, and I'm happy with sort of how they've been able to recover from what could have been a very devastating change in losing one of their main cast members. There definitely feels like there's a good energy going forward. And as I say, as far as relevance, this show, the divide between superpowered people and human beings is played as the difference between right and left wing in the United States right now, and it is poignant as hell. The way that people use social media, the way that they talk about each other, the way that they are afraid of one another, the divisiveness of what's happening in American politics right now, in American culture, is very reflected in this show. So it's a very astute look at sort of some of that stuff. They can explore some of that stuff in here and do a really good job with it. So I think, always a little weird when they do these, Amazon does these 3 episode drops. You're just you kind of what do they want us to know this quickly off the hop? So they kind of do establish this sort of, okay, let's get the band back together. We're back at the school. We're doing our thing. But yeah, it's a good stage set. And again, now that they've dropped the first 3, it's only an 8 episode season. So really the show will be over in 6 weeks, which is pretty fast. So it'll be good, and hopefully it'll also set the stage for the upcoming final season of The Boys too, because we do see some cameos from The Boys characters here. It is very much connected to the events that are going on in The Boys, so it's not required watching, but it certainly does supplement and add to the stuff that you're seeing there as well. So you will get some more out of it if you're a Boys fan. So.
Yeah. The big question I have, though, is why are the students safer at the school? I mean, is it just because they're protected there? Because they're under the Void umbrella? Is that what the idea is? Or?
Yeah, I think the notion is that they would, if they were kind of out there doing their own thing, that the Vought machinery would probably
guys in a van could show up and take them away. Pretty
much,
sort of
we saw that they didn't have much.
That would never happen in real life.
Well, that's it. We saw in the first season that they don't really have much interest in negotiating. It's basically it's our way or the highway, right? And now because what happened in season 4 of The Boys, was it 4 or 5? Where Homelander has essentially assumed control of Vought, and so now things are really headed to a much more tyrannical, censorship-filled America in this world, and it's pretty intense. And I think the idea is if they're not there, they're probably going to be hunted until they're caught and or killed.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Give me 1 sec. I just got to check something. Be right back. Or let's dive into the watch list.
I'll go first. Well, let's talk about some Lego. We had rumors that they were going to do a Star Trek Lego set earlier this year, and I think we were kind of hopeful because that's something that's never occurred before. And they teased this last week. We got a little, 20-second video where basically we see Captain Picard getting beamed in and then turning into a little Lego version of Captain Picard, and then basically a coming soon sign on it. We still don't have 100% confirmation on what sets are going to be available, if it's going to be one set, if it's going to be multiple sets. The rumor is that the first set will be a Enterprise D with the original crew, basically, as the minifigures that you would get with it. So whether or not that includes a Wesley Crusher, couldn't tell you. Which uniform Wesley will be wearing, couldn't tell you. But I love the idea of Star Trek Lego. I would definitely be interested in that. Obviously, price notwithstanding. But I don't know. Are you a Lego builder collector, Jaime?
I haven't done Lego in a long time, but I did have that sort of stuff growing up. Definitely have a fondness for it. I watch Lego Masters with Will Arnett every single season that it comes out. So this is my alley. I don't know if I would buy a set unless there's something that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm going to get, the Enterprise D or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I found myself, I was a huge Lego fan when I was a little kid. I happened to just hit this very sweet spot in the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, where Lego was really kind of pushing into more of these more minifigures and stuff like that. That was a new thing. Like, they literally didn't exist when I started building with Lego blocks. I found that I was really drawn to the space Legos and the knights and swords and stuff like that. The stereotype, they didn't really have any of this branded stuff. And I remember in the 90s when the branded stuff started with, the Lego Star Wars and some of those sets that started coming. I just remember thinking, this is really cool, but I was in my 20s and it really wasn't in my wheelhouse. It wasn't until I was in my 30s when my children came along, and my son and my daughter, they were very interested in the Legos as well. And that kind of rekindled my love for it. So I found myself, they would buy me Lego sets for my birthday or for Christmas that were, Star Wars sets or just different things that I'm interested in. I have the little Lego DeLorean, Back to the Future DeLorean with Marty and Doc and stuff like that they've given me. And and then actually on my 10th wedding anniversary, my wife surprised me. I bought her a very sparkly ring to commemorate the occasion, and she gave me the Lego Death Star, which I think is just a perfect summation of our relationship. But yeah, I've definitely been much more back into Lego since my kids came along, and still, even now that they're both adults, I find myself still very much enjoying it. Actually, tying into my second item here on this list. So, yes, interested in the Star Trek Lego. I saw last week that they had announced that they have been doing these sort of interesting sets over the last few years. They did an old Atari 2600 Lego set. They did a Nintendo Entertainment System set with a little TV where it had a little diorama of Mario on it. I thought it was very cool. And I haven't really bitten on those yet. But also, I wasn't a Nintendo kid, and I wasn't even a 2600 Atari kid either. I was a Sega guy, as Tim knows. And last week they announced that they were putting out this Lego Sega Genesis controller, where on the front it looks like an old school Sega Genesis controller from the late 1980s. And then the flip on the back of it is a little diorama where it looks like a scene from the original Sonic the Hedgehog game. And I thought, oh, that is so cool. I want one of those. And I looked at it and it said, you cannot buy one. You have to get one as a free gift if you order stuff from the Lego store. And so it was only open for a week. It's now closed. You can't get it anymore. Tough luck, everyone else. But do I own it? Yes. Is it on my shelf already? Sure is. I ordered a couple of different Lego sets that I had my eye on, including I ordered a bunch of the new wave of collectible minifigures that they put out for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So there's a whole new wave of minifigures. That's their this year's fall wave of figures is 12 different characters from Into the Spider-Verse. So you can get Miles Morales, you can get Spider-Gwen, you can get Spider-Punk, you can get Spider-Man 2099. So all those characters from the movie. And there's some really fun ones, like there's like a cyborg Spider-Man, there's a cowboy Spider-Man with a cowboy spider horse, there's a Spider-Man India with a Spider-Man India cat, there's a Spider-Man werewolf. It's very funny, sort of silly fun stuff. I had a good time opening and building all those when they arrived. But yeah, I could not resist getting this Lego Sega controller. I put the link in the show notes. You can have a look at it. I imagine on the aftermarket stuff, that you will be able to probably acquire one. But yeah, it was just too fun for me to pass up. I had to bite on that one. So, and I'm sure the same thing will happen when I get around to Star Trek Lego. When they finally do announce it, I'm sure I will swallow hard and be like, oh, but I gotta have the Enterprise. It's this first time they ever put it in an Enterprise. And just the last thing I wanted to flag as far as upcoming stuff, Marvel Zombies, the show Jaime, you and I talked about on the last episode we did, is coming next week. So only 4 episodes and dropping all at once on Disney Plus. So yeah, next time we reconnect, there will be a whole Disney Plus Marvel Zombie show ready to be consumed.
Cool. Right, what you got first, Jaime?
I think I covered the first, probably the first trailer and actual episode of this Wolf 359, The Massacre, Part 1. And then this is the trailer for Wolf 359, The Massacre, Part 2. This is a VFX artist who does some pretty snazzy stuff. It's like a fan fiction version of what actually did happen during the Battle of Wolf 359 during the Best of Both Worlds episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. So it's very well done. It's fan stuff. It probably takes forever and a day for a person to do this, and I appreciate the effort. It's got great pew pew pews. You know, Star Trek isn't all about pew pew pews. This one's got real solid pew pew pews.
Cool.
Yeah, I did watch a bit of it. So, is it a game or
no? It's just a video.
Okay, all right, yeah. Cool.
Like a mini episode. This is a trailer. There was a part 1 that covered sort of the first half of what was going on, and this is the teaser trailer for the second.
Cool. All right. Well, mine is I have a couple actually kind of IMAX related. One is I had the pleasure of we kept passing the BFI IMAX theater in London when I was there. So since we're movie files here, I thought I'd check and see what's playing there. And it turned out that last Wednesday, David Gilmour has put out a film called. He only played 4 cities last year on his tour, but he did 4 nights at the Circus Maximus in Rome. So he put out a film recorded in IMAX called David Gilmour Live at the Circus Maximus in Rome. And just turned out that when I checked on Tuesday night last week, that the BFI IMAX was showing the world premiere of that movie, and David Gilmour would be there in person doing a Q&A. So I've taped that and threw it up on the YouTube channel, so I'll put a link to the show notes to that. So that's sort of my pick, but my real pick for today is I was watching Colbert last night, and he had Ron Howard on. And Ron Howard, of course, a director of a number of popular movies, but it's the 30th anniversary of Apollo 13. And I did see this is the cut that they made for IMAX when it first came out. I did see it at the time when it came out. I think it was maybe like a year after it was shown in the theaters. It was an IMAX version. I went downtown and watched it again. So it's playing. The David Gilmour movie is supposed to be playing in IMAX, and I have got a ticket to go see it tomorrow as well, which I had bought before I went to London. But it's only playing in regular, and I couldn't figure out what was being shown on all the IMAX screens that would not allow us to watch this David Gilmour film. But it turns out it's the Apollo 13 IMAX cut, and it's playing 3 times a day for the next week. So by the time this episode comes out, we'll have missed a few days. But yeah, if you want to check out this movie, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's they actually went up in the vomit rocket Vomit. Yeah, there's that what they call it?
Vomit Comet.
Vomit Comet. Yeah, that's what they call it. Thank you. They filmed scenes in that where they put the actors and the cameraman and everything and the sets in the plane, and a lot of the floating around is actually the actors really floating around, which is really, really kind of a cool effect, right? So yeah, and it's, of course, it's the famous story of the Apollo 13 and how they went to the moon and had an accident and then had to continue to the moon and then turn back and survive and all that kind of stuff. And Jim Lovell, who is played by Tom Hanks, passed away a month or two ago, I think. So yeah, so if you haven't seen Apollo 13, or if you're a mild fan of it or whatever, I highly recommend seeing it in IMAX if you can. So that's it for this week, or this episode, I guess. And so Jonathan, if people want to get in touch with you, where do they find you?
Oh, I guess they could look on Instagram and Blue Sky. I'm at JPK News, or you can go to youtube.com/@JPK.
All right. And Jaime, if people want to get in touch with you, where do they find you?
I'm on Instagram as @DevWithTheHair.
Cool. All right. Well, my name is Timitra, Timmitra. I'm usually lurking on Blue Sky or on Mastodon, but yeah, generally around over there. If you want to get a hold of me, that's the best place. So until next time, we'll see you in the future.
Bye.
Unless we get trapped in a time paradox and we play this thing over and over again. Okay, bye.
You've been listening to the Spotcast Podcast. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. If you have feedback or questions, you can get in touch with us on the website. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
Something there, I was trying to time the bye. I got kind of caught with my butt hanging out on that one.
Yeah, that's
happens to the best of us.
True.
Bye.
All right, now we say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
You never know. I could just loop it right back and we start the whole show over again.
That would be our temporal paradox. I dare you. I dare you to put 2 episodes back to back and just be like, nothing happened.
Yeah, we could do that.
Like, why is this week's episode 4 hours long? What's wrong with these guys?
Well, what's interesting is I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the reason I asked you to leave the Mac running for me here was I had set it up so that I could access this computer, which we're recording on today, in Europe, because I always take my disposable Mac with me when I'm traveling because I don't want to lose it, right? But I couldn't access it. I couldn't make the connection. I tested it before I went, but I couldn't make the connection to the Mac. I forgot to take the show art with me, I have a Photoshop file that I use every week to do both More Than Just Code and this and Spotcast, right? So I didn't have that with me. So I don't know if you noticed the last 2 episodes had generic art and then just the Spotcast shield.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have, since I got back, I've updated both of those episodes. So now they have proper show art for the Ortega episode and the 4.5 Vulcan. So yeah, cool. It is what it is, right?
All right. So now the tough question. So I've been reading all day long about this Jimmy Kimmel stuff and the censorship and all that stuff.
Yes. I did, so here's my take on it. First of all, because as you know, I watch Colbert is my go-to show. That's the one I watch, and I actually just went over to my TV to set up CBS and pause the show so that I could go and start watching it, in real time, because it's on right now, right?
Yep.
Will have just finished his monologue in real time, but or in real tape time, but and I can always watch it on YouTube. But they've been putting they put Kimmel, they put Colbert, and they put Fallon on YouTube, so you can always watch the monologue, right? And even Seth Meyers does his a closer look and his monologue on there as well. And all three of the hosts showed the same content that Jimmy Kimmel talked about on the day, which was, the reporter asking 47 about what his thoughts were about this man, and then immediately he just says, "Oh, look over here at the ballroom that we're building, and it's going to be the best ballroom ever. And for 150 years, nobody's had a ballroom that's bigly like this one, and whatever." And then and Kimmel made a couple of comments, but all three hosts showed the same clips and pretty much said the same thing. So I don't know why Kimmel got singled out. However, what I had heard this morning was that it was the affiliates, that the affiliate stations throughout the States who said, "We're not going to carry this show anymore." And that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. But then again, there's another merger with an FCC ruling, and everybody's afraid of what the FCC will say because they're being influenced by the 47 government and so on and so forth, right? So, and I think it Mark Maron said it best today when he said that this is the indication that this is now serious stuff. So, I don't think anybody can really sort of sit back and, wait for something to happen. Right?
So that's what kind of has now got me thinking is, and I struggled with it this week as I found myself thinking like, I felt very icky after some of the decisions that have been made, the Colbert decision, the capitulation of ABC/Disney to some of the stuff that, they've done that I found really insulting to the journalists at 60 Minutes. This is another bridge, but this is a pretty serious bridge. This is absolutely a violation of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, but it's also it's censorship. It's unmistakably censorship.
He's a comedian at the end of the day. It's not like we're taking anybody. We should take him seriously.
So the question
he will sway voters.
The question I have is, and it's certainly come up in the discourse today is, and there's people calling for a boycott of Disney and Disney Plus. They're calling for a boycott of several of the different things that are happening here. What is our responsibility as people? We are in our own way entertainers. We're not journalists. We're entertainers. We're making a podcast for fun, hopefully entertaining a few people a week who enjoy our stuff and like listen to us. Talk about this stuff. Do we have a responsibility to try to continue to give people some time away from the heaviness of the world that's going on right now, even if that means feeding the beasts of these things that are, corporations? I mean, Jeff Bezos is not a good guy, and we're talking about Amazon shows. We're talking about, there are problems with pretty much everything that we subscribe to and or cover. And Apple is no exemption on this either. Tim Cook was in there on his hands and knees in front of 47 not that long ago, presenting him with a token of esteem and getting into his good graces too. So this is not one thing. This is a lot of things. But where do you think our responsibilities are as far as, I felt this week for the first time, are we in the wrong to continue?
Do we censor ourselves?
Well, that's
exactly,
it. Do we talk about this stuff? Because I don't want people to be like, ugh, I don't want to listen to Spotcast because they just talk about politics, because that's certainly not what I want to do here. I want to talk to you guys about the fun things we enjoy, but it's creeping in on all sides.
Yeah.
Jaime, I got to admit, I'm fascinated to know what you think. You're living the truth of this. This is your country and a place that I believe that you're proud to be from, and it's super complicated.
It is taking the do people get fatigued? I feel like the careful balance there for some shows is after show is a nice thing, because people can say, all right, I'm not into this part. I'm burnt out on this topic, and that's fine. And you also leave after show there for people who are like, I do kind of need some catharsis here. So, or another perspective. So that's not going to be the right answer for everything. There's certainly some shows that I end up kind of skipping of stuff. I'm like, okay, I've had enough for today. I need something different.
Yeah.
So it's a very natural reaction of sometimes you want to doom scroll and sometimes you want to just forget. And I think those are both real human reactions.
Yeah, I mean it's a real challenge, I think, because you don't want to appear vapid or clueless. And it is, as I said, it's kind of permeating everything now. Like there really is no escape from the reality of what's happening. And obviously it's certainly easy to focus on what's happening in the United States, but certainly there are a lot of very concerning things happening all over the world. This is not just about what's happening in the United States, although that's very concerning. It's always tough to try and figure out, like, and again, like when you talk about something like Peacemaker, you talk about something like The Boys or Gen V, you can't not feel the parallels. You can't not feel the reflection of what's happening in the world in these things, right? It's definitely pervasive in a way that you just can't escape at times. And I think that's why I think all of us are fans of science fiction, fantasy, and the things we enjoy is because often they are, they can be told and beautiful and complex and everything else, but they are distractionary. They are things that are sort of meant to take you away from the reality of life. It's the same reason I don't watch things like The Pit. I can't watch that. I certainly couldn't watch that when I was working as a journalist. It was just too much based on all the stuff I had to deal with during my day. I couldn't go home and then watch drama on TV. It made me want to genuinely, crawl into a hole. So I don't know. It's weird. It's absolutely weird.
It's good that you brought up The Pit, because my significant other has asked me, how come you don't watch The Pit? We have HBO Max, and she's talking about me. I watch a fair amount of medical drama. She's like, you watch Doc, which is on season 2 right now, of this doctor who gets in a car accident and forgets the last 8 years, and she's got to deal with that. I also watched the full 5 seasons of New Amsterdam, where every single doctor character was an absolute dumpster fire of a character. And I told her, well, that's why, because that's the trashy TV. Trashy here is not meant to be like looking super down on it, but it's like, it's not highbrow. It's like, hey, this is on broadcast television. It's going to have your tropes. And it's a nice way to sort of mentally unwind at the end of the day. And The Pit, I was like, yeah, that seems too legit. That seems too real. That's a lot of drama. And I would have to give up like some other drama somewhere. Can't be watching Andor. Can't be watching, choose a thing, like an Alien Earth or other stuff. I'm like, yeah, that might be like just too much of the same, and you kind of want like a little bit of silly. Like I do end up being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, yep, see, I told you, I knew this person was going to have, this one was going to be pregnant, or this one was going to be the long lost brother of that character. Mm-hmm. Kind of the popcorn movie, but for television, with long defended Pacific Rim and Stealth as movies where you go into the air conditioned theater, you get your popcorn, your soda, your hot dog, your nachos, and you just sort of like blend into the seat and enjoy, and you forget all your cares. That's very different than like trying to watch an Academy Award winning film like a Schindler's List, or something that seems to be a really challenging topic like adolescence, right? Like sometimes I kind of want just some pew pew pews or some ha ha ha's to round out the human experience.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. I find the same thing. I mean, that's why I think I'm responding to Peacemaker right now, is because it makes me laugh, and I need that right now. Like, otherwise I would be just, I'd be struggling. And I'm one of those people that, I think one of the reasons why I was able to last as a journalist for as long as I did is because I can consume lots and am very engaged. I read voraciously. I read stories all the time. I listen to podcasts. Like, I consume information constantly. And I can't turn off that part of my brain just because I'm not doing that anymore. So I still read the, stories constantly. I'm still constantly soaking up information, and it does start to sort of burn me out. So I have to go and then like turn my brain off and do other things to try and, recover from that. But right now it feels like, my brain is hooked up to a fire hose of information, and and instead of firing out water, it's firing out like black tar. It's just like, it's awful. So yeah, it can be a little overwhelming, but like I say, it's tough because I just don't know what to how to make of these things. As a podcaster, I want our audience to feel like we're we're on the ball. We understand what's happening out there. We can see the parallels from our favorite shows and everything else, but also don't want to weigh people down because I want them to be like, I come here to talk about Star Trek, not to talk about, censorship and free speech and oppression and all the things that we're dealing with right now, right?
Indeed.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen a few things popping up today. I saw that there was a campaign now going where they're talking about, an organized campaign to try and protest against the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel. And it's like, they want to, have people cancel their subscriptions. They want to have people, actively doing things that are going to make a difference to the bottom line that might actually affect change. And I'm like, I agree with that. But also, we can't do a podcast if I cancel all my streaming services. So it's a real tough call, right?
Yeah.
Like, where are you doing the most good? I think is the struggle that I find myself in. Is like, how can I be the kind of person that I want to be? It's also the
separation of. It's also trying to separate art and state, sort of thing.
Well, and when the state enforces itself on the art, that's when things start to go sideways. I mean, that obviously as a student of art. I think that's when things go really off the rails, when they're like, what if we decide what art is? Like, no, that is not good.
Well, it's very interesting. We went and saw Alice Roberts, which is one of Carol's favorite authors, who does, digging in Britain and stuff like that. And she's written a number of books that Carol's read. We went and saw her speak in Bath, and the gist of her new book is about the symbols of Christianity and how Christianity became the dominant, the dominant, empire, right? Whereas it was Romans before that, and then became Christianity, and the connection between Constantine and the Catholic Church, and how he brought Catholicism forward and that kind of stuff. And it turns out that he was actually hedging his bets. He was putting money into all of the leading religions at the time. The end story is, it looks like he was supporting Christianity, but he was actually supporting all kinds of religions out there at the time. And the symbol that is seen in Constantine's, regalia as meaning Christ turns out to have been created 350 years before Christ was even born. So the symbol just means leader, it doesn't necessarily mean Christ, right? But it's kind of weird that it all gets sort of twisted around and stuff like that, right? But so it was an interesting thing. But she ends the talk with how state and religion are kind of tied together, and she flashes through a bunch of different, coronation things where, like, the king is. We went to Westminster Abbey to see where the king is crowned by the Archbishop of Canterbury, right? And we saw the coronation chair and that kind of stuff, and her lecture ends with a picture of Charles being coronated, right? So, it's kind of like you just can't separate, church and state, and you certainly, I mean, a lot of art back in the day was, like before the turn of the century, was funded by the state, right? It was funded by the church.
Yeah.
All the stuff that we saw was, Jesus is in everything, because that's what, art, the culture that was being put out on people that's what they saw in church on Sunday when they went, because they didn't have internet, they didn't have TV. They went to the church to find out the stories, kind of thing, right? So, weird.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who is well read, especially on history, will be particularly on edge seeing the way things are playing out right now and some of the decisions that are being made. And it definitely does kind of send shivers up your spine at times, where you're like, well, that's not good. That's not good. I've seen this before. There's a few historians that I follow on social media and that I read their blogs and stuff like that, and I really enjoy their work, but their insights are just often more upsetting than anything else. You're just like, oh yeah, good point. That's not good. Yeah, it's been a hell of a few weeks and a hell of a 9 months. I'm feeling very emotionally cooked, and it's I can't remember who. There was a comedian that made this observation a few years ago, and I apologize for not knowing who it is, but you know what, it was Bill Hicks. It was Bill Hicks made this observation. He's like, you go on, you turn on CNN or you turn on, the news, and it's, war and famine and pestilence and death and torture and all these awful things. And then you go outside and you just hear
Yeah, birds and stuff.
And you're like, huh. And you realize that, like, you know, obviously the news is a summary of events, and particularly in the area we live in now, there's so many opportunities to gather information, and there's so many different sources of gathering information. So it seems like just all this stuff is happening nonstop, but your community and your day-to-day life, so much of this stuff doesn't necessarily resonate. But then, you know, again, there is some stuff that's just like, again, we haven't even talked about what's going on in Gaza. We haven't talked about what's going on in Ukraine. Like, there's so many things, right? Where you're just like, it's just all so big and so out of your control. I had somebody, one of my old friends called me last week and said, you know, boy, I bet you're glad you're not working in a newsroom right now. And I said, honestly, this is when it's the hardest. Because at least when I was in a newsroom and all this stuff was going down, I felt like I could help. I felt like I could do something. I felt like I could try and do something to keep people informed, to give them as much clear and honest perspective as possible. That was what I took as my mandate as a journalist, was to give people as clear a summary of events and you know, and truth as possible. When I'm here and I'm just whatever it is I am now, I find myself much more frustrated, feeling much more just sort of lost in the shuffle.
It's difficult to be on the outside looking in, and yeah, I know what you mean. Like, even not in news, but in other parts of business, I've been an insider, and then, you know, to be on the outside it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So
to transition to that, yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should call it, because I got to go watch. It looks like Colbert's monologue started late, and it looked like he got a blowtorch.
Yeah, I watched. They put it up on social media. I watched about 5 minutes of it already.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to seeing the whole thing. But yeah, I got the gist of it, which was he was not restrained. I mean, I will say that's the one thing about knowing your job is going to be short term anyways, is you feel a little less pressure to restrain yourself. So.
Yeah, to hold you back. And it's funny because, you know, in the first, you know, half of the vacation we were on in Europe, we really didn't hear about the stuff over
yeah.
here.
I bet you would this week with the state visit and everything. It seemed like that heated back up.
Yeah, it's hilarious. What's the name of the blonde lady on the Daily Show?
Desi Lydic.
Yeah, she did a piece yesterday on how they were projecting the
Windsor Castle.
He's how the Windsor Castle, no other president's been to Windsor Castle. It's the good one and whatever, as opposed to the crummy one, which is like, now we're pitting Buckingham Palace versus Windsor Castle. And then she ends with the protesters broadcasting the image of Trump and Epstein onto the thing. She goes, "Oh, not the good castle."
Yeah, she's terrific. I'm a big fan. Apparently, for anyone who cares, apparently Jon Stewart. He only does Mondays on The Daily Show. He apparently was going back to hosting tonight because he wanted to talk about it. So I'm very, very curious, because John also is, he was pretty merciless around the Colbert stuff. This, I'm sure, will get his just blood boiling. So that's probably
somebody joked that the CBC should hire Kimmel and Colbert, and then they'd immediately get huge American audience.
There you go. Of course, we have enough problems. We don't really need any more U.S. economic pressure on us right now. We're having enough tough time.
Oh yeah, and the other thing that somebody mentioned me the other day, I was talking about how, you know, it's kind of, we live above the drunk uncle, and the guy said, no, we're the stoners living above the drunk uncle.
Probably fair. Yeah, it's not unfair. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well,
anyway,
good to catch up with you guys. Right. It's nice to have the band back together. So we're gonna get back together next week and do the finale of Alien Earth and keep it rolling for a few more weeks. There's no more Star Trek for the foreseeable future. So we can
go back to doing the animated series.
Yeah. Right? Well, and there's lots of stuff on right now, because there is there's Alien Earth, there's Peacemaker, there's Gen V, there's still a few things on the go. We could talk about Marvel Zombies. There's stuff happening. Wonder Man is coming up on Disney Plus. That's a new Marvel series. Like, there's stuff happening this fall for sure. It's just, we just have to decide if we want to do every week or keep it rolling. But we can talk about it next week.
Okie dokie.
Alrighty. Take care, guys.
Ciao. Bye.
Later.
Where's the off button?